road to Birmingham has reached its destination. It is time for the state championships in the state of Alabama. Protective Stadium is the site, and we have an action-packed next couple of days here in the Magic City. Justin Foster, Brenna Vickery, KO, Kyle O'Neill with us here to preview these 7 matchups, and we'll jump right in. It's been a long season. Been a lot of fun doing this and previewing all season long. So it's only fitting that we close things out. Games start tonight. We'll have that prediction coming up to close here. But we start with some of Thursday's games. We'll start first with 3A action. Number 10, Houston Academy. Number 4, Mars Hill. Houston Academy, their first title appearance since 1973. They have never won a title. Mars Hill is the opponent. Both 13-1 teams. We'll start with UKO in this one. What is your prediction in the 3A championship?
You have a Mars Hill team that gave up over 300 passing yards last week, and that's not good because they're going up against a quarterback that has 40 passing touchdowns and 3,000 passing yards. So I'm going to go with Houston Academy in this one. I think they'll have a big day through the air.
Brenna?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went with Houston Academy as well. Senior receiver Gabe Glover is averaging 104 receiving yards per game, and he has 24 touchdowns on the season. Their offenses look decently similar. Houston Academy is averaging 42.4 points a game, while Mars Hill is averaging 42.9. But to me, I think the Houston Academy defense looks more solid. I think the matchups are pretty equivalent. An interesting thing about this matchup is that they have no common opponents this season, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that the teams are pretty equivalent, but Houston Academy, their defense is going to be able to hold the Mars Hill offense a little bit better, so I went with them as well.
I will be up front and say I don't know a ton about these teams. We get in these lower classifications, and it is kind of a grab bag, and you just try to kind of piece it together from what you can find. I like Mars Hill in this one. I think they'll pull it out. But again, totally a guess. I don't know a ton about these teams. And speaking of, we move to 1A. Maplesville, number 9 in the state, 12-2. They do have 2 losses. Number 1, Wadley. Over the years, Maplesville has always been there, but they're going up against a number 1 team, has never won a title. Maplesville 4-2 in title games, so they have been there. Are they going to be able to overcome number 1 and continue that tradition, or does Wadley get their first title, Brenna?
I think Wadley will get their first title. Maplesville has looked pretty dominant in their matchups in the past couple weeks, but Wadley has an very explosive offense, and they're averaging 56 points per game, and they've scored more than 50 points in 9 of their games so far this season. I think that they will be able to capitalize on that offense and get their first state title tonight.
KO?
Yeah, Maplesville had a very impressive win last week, beating Elba, who's led by Auburn running back Alvin Henderson. But I think they'll be able to hold Wadley's offense a little bit, but I don't think they'll be able to hold them enough. Wadley's won all but one of their games by at least 28 points. They've just been dominating all year, and I think they do it again tonight.
Well, when I look at this, I kind of compare Maplesville to Leeds, and follow me with this. Leeds, the experience got them to a certain point, and they were able to get into that semifinal, but then they matched up with Moody, and it was complete domination. I think Maplesville, the experience has gotten them this far, but I do think Wadley, what you've seen from the domination, undefeated season, I think it's just going to be too much. Maplesville not going to be shook by the lights, so to speak. They're going to come to play, but I think Wadley's got enough talent that they will finish an undefeated season and get their first title. Moving on to 5A, starting to get up there in the classifications. This one, an interesting one. Montgomery Catholic, undefeated. They come in 13-0 against number 4 Moody, who in my opinion, at their best has looked like the number 1 team in 5A, completely dominating, as we said, Leeds. They are the only team in Super 7 making their first state championship appearance. Coach Jake Gaines has done great things there. Catholic won the championship in 4A last year, 28 wins in a row. Mm-hmm. Can they make it 29 here, Brenna, and close things out against Moody, as good a team in 5A as you're going to find?
Yeah, I think Moody, they've had a great season. They beat Helena, a familiar opponent for us, and Leeds twice this year. They have a pretty well-rounded offense, but when you look at Catholic, they have 6 shutouts on the season, and they've beat 5 teams by 40 or more points. They have a pretty solid running back core. They have running backs averaging 85 and 93 yards. I just don't think that Moody will be able to hold them. I think Catholic wins.
Kale?
Yeah, we've mentioned their performances against Leeds. They had a very impressive 42-0 win against them last week, but the Leeds defense just not up to par with what Catholic Montgomery will bring to the table. They've got 131 tackles for loss and 39 sacks on the year, and they haven't given up more than 14 points per game. So I don't think they'll get anywhere close to getting 42, and I think Catholic extends that winning streak to 29 games.
I think the run that Moody's had in the playoffs is indicative of what Coach Gaines is building there, and I do think Moody's kind of poised to be a powerhouse in coming years if they're able to hold on him. I like Moody in this game. I think that Montgomery Catholic certainly very, very impressive. It could go either way, but just got a feeling that Moody's playing their best ball at the right time. I do think they're going to come to play. Coach Gaines has certainly turned that program into kind of a sleeping giant. I think they wake up and they take down Montgomery Catholic. In that win streak of 28, it will go back to 0 as they go into next season. We go to Friday night's games, 4A action. Number 1, Jackson. Number 3, Cherokee County. Brenna, we were talking about this one a little earlier, trying to kind of figure it out. Cherokee County 1-5 in title games. Jackson, their only loss was by 8 points to Saraland.
Right.
That certainly raises some eyebrows. Who you got in this one?
Yeah, I wanted to go with Cherokee. I think their defense might be a little bit stronger than Jackson's based on their records, respectively. They've held 7 teams to 7 or less points, but that Jackson offense has looked really great all year. They're averaging 45 points a game, and their defense looks good, too. I just think Cherokee's might be a little bit stronger, but I do think they have a Xavier Crowell leading their offense with 130 rushing yards per game. I do think they'll be able to use that to their advantage and get a win tonight, or Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah, Jackson's quarterback, Landon Duckworth, he has 28 offers. He's a 4-star, over 3,000 passing yards. I think he'll be able to lead them along with Xavier Crowell. Like you mentioned, their offense has looked unstoppable this year. Cherokee County does have really good defense, but they haven't gone up against an offense as strong as Jackson's. I think Jackson will be able to get the win.
Jackson going to show, hey, it's not just in Mississippi. We got a good one in Alabama. I like Jackson in this one to take down Cherokee County. I do think this is going to be a really entertaining game. Two teams pretty evenly matched there. But again, some of these is kind of a coin flip once you get to this environment. The magic of it is who's going to show up. Sometimes teams just the lights are too big for them, especially at the high school level, and then at times you'll see surprises where teams really show up. So that's one to keep an eye on. We go now to 2A, number 4, Reeltown, number 6, Tuscaloosa Academy. Reeltown coming in 13-1, Tuscaloosa Academy 12-2. Reeltown lost to Fife in the title game a year ago. Can they remedy that KO and come away victors this year?
I think they will be able to avenge last year's loss, but they're going to have to slow down Tuscaloosa Academy's quarterback, Preston Lancaster. He has over 4,000 passing yards and 45 touchdowns. That'll be a tall task for them. But they've had 6 shutouts this year. They've got 5 players with more than 95 tackles. So I think they'll be up to the task, and I think they avenge last year's championship loss.
Brenna?
I don't know much about Reeltown, but I grew up in Tuscaloosa, so I did witness the TA athletic culture. They're able to pull a lot of athletes from Tuscaloosa, and they have like a good culture that they channel from the university. I think that they've been building up their athletic success in the past couple years. They're getting better and better in all their sports respectively. I don't know when the last time they appeared in the state title was, but I do think they have a good shot to win it. I did go with TA.
I'm going to go with Tuscaloosa Academy. You know, honestly, when you look at these smaller schools, the private schools tend to fare well. And again, Reeltown, impressive resume. I just do think even with the 2 losses, Tuscaloosa Academy is going to be able to come away with that victory. Moving on to 6A, this one is really, really interesting. 2 teams that we've kind of covered all season long. Parker, 1 loss, 13-1, number 2 in the state, number 1, Saraland. This is about as evenly matched as you're going to find these next 2 games. Parker, first title appearance since 1980. Certainly some interesting theatrics today, what we saw with one of their highlight players. He ends up going to Oregon, kind of battle between Auburn.
Flipped another one, flipped from Miami to Tennessee.
Hey, money talks. Money talks. You got to think AJ NIL, you're going to get that best deal. Parker's never won a title, though. Saraland 1-3 in the title game. They have been absolutely dominant all season long. KO, we'll start with you. Who you got in this one? I don't even know if you'd call it an upset for Parker to get the win, but 2 really, really strong teams.
Well, I don't know what the odds are, but if there were odds, I'm sure they'd be right flat no favorite, because this is a fantastic matchup. I was doing some research. I saw someone compare it to last year's matchup of Saraland and Clay Chalkville, because Clay and Parker, they're both really similar. They run the ball a lot. They've got 2 amazing defenses, and a Saraland team that they've got a really good defense too, and they like to throw the ball a lot. I'm going to go with Saraland here. They've been really dominant all year. They've won every playoff game by at least 26 points. And they did lose Ryan Williams last year, but Carson Gill has come in. He's got 70 catches, 1,200 yards, and 20 touchdowns on the year. So I'm going to go with Saraland to win back-to-back.
Brenna, what you think?
Avenge last year's loss.
Yeah, I think that the Parker defense, obviously you talked about it, they look great. They've held 10 teams to 10 and under, but I just don't know that Saraland is a beatable team right now. They've been amazing and dominant all season. I think that their defense is strong enough to hold the Parker offense, but I don't think that Parker's defense is strong enough to hold the Saraland offense. I think Saraland gets the win.
Again, it's kind of one of those, can Parker slow them down? I don't think they can. I do think Parker's probably the better defense here. I do think Saraland's probably more well-rounded a team. It is one, it would not shock me to turn that on and see that Parker's dominating. If they are able to shut them down, I do think they can have some success. But I am going to go with y'all and say that Saraland is able to have success. I do think it'll be kind of a low-scoring game, but I do think Saraland, in the end, pulls it out, finishes the undefeated season. We close things out. This one's tonight, must-see TV. It is a repeat of last year. Central could be the first team to win the title as a 3 seed in their region since Demopolis in 2009. They're playing their best ball now, as are the Thompson Warriors. Mark Freeman, he's looking for history too, looking to break a tie with Bobby Carr for the most titles won, 10 combined between Bessemer Academy, Spanish Fort, and obviously his work at Thompson. This one, it deserves to be in bright lights on the marquee. Central dominant last year, taking down Thompson, but Thompson, they're used to being here. Both of these teams not going to shy away from the big moment. KO, who cuts down the net, so to speak? Is it Thompson? Is it Central Phoenix City?
Yeah, I've been going back and forth between this one all week, but these are two teams that have been in this game a lot, but many of us thought earlier in the season that they wouldn't be because they had some struggles. Thompson's offense did not look that great, but they've improved a lot, and I think they're at their best in the playoffs, and it's the same with Central's defense. They were not looking good, but they've improved a lot in this game. But Central's offense, they lost Cam Coleman to Auburn last year, but they've got Miami commit Dalen Upshaw, who's got 62 catches, 1,000 yards, and 16 touchdowns. And their defense, they've got Tristan Lyles, who has 28 tackles for loss, along with 11 sacks. So it's, I think Central will be able to get the win, but I think it could go either way. You've got two teams that have 5 losses by a combined 17 points, so they've struggled, but all their losses have been close games.
Brenna, what you think?
I want to go with Thompson. I didn't even pick Central Phoenix to win 2 weeks ago against Hoover, but I don't think we can ignore, I know you said not to necessarily build a narrative off of it, but I don't think we can ignore the losses that Thompson has had this season. They have shown some inability to finish hard games, and I think that Central Phoenix, they just look more complete. They look more solid, more ready to dominate. I did go with Central Phoenix to win.
It does feel like both of these teams have peaked at the perfect time. I think it goes back to coaching. It goes back to culture, which both schools have really good cultures. I worry for Central that Thompson has kind of looked at their situation and said, we're not going to be defined by falling short in those situations. I do feel like it's a coin flip in those situations. I know one of it, the national TV game, team goes for 2 against them and just gets that. These are really, really close losses.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of kicker struggles, so it'll be important if it comes down to the wire. You're going to need a good performance.
As an Auburn fan, I know all too well about that. With that said, I like Central Phoenix City. I think they know what it takes to beat this team. If anything, Thompson may have a problem. Just, hey, this team may have our number a little bit. I think it's going to be a really good game. Should be really, really entertaining here tonight. But give me Central, and that maybe, I don't want to see Thompson win everything, so maybe we just want to see that as a little bias. But that will wrap it up for these games. Final thoughts, guys, as great season comes to a close and should be an action-packed couple of games.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, until this year when we started having these shows, I've never really tracked and kept track of high school football that much, but now that we've done it, it's been very entertaining across all classifications. It's been very entertaining to watch, especially in 7A and 6A. The amount of talent that we have across the teams and some of the statistics that have been put up by some offensive players have been really fun to keep track of.
Brenna, anything?
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to definitely watching that 6A and 7A state championships.
Yeah, I find myself just, scanning NFHS, throwing some of these games on Friday night the past couple of weeks, and it's been a lot of fun. I got to take some time to brag on these two. This was not something that they had to do, and week in, week out, they've taken a lot of time to prepare, to research these teams. I will be forthright and say, hey, I pick on vibes. A lot of times I've not known much at all, but they've really done their homework, and that's a testament to both of them, hard work, and I know this is the last time we'll do this for football, but y'all have done so much for this, for the program, and looking forward to the rest of y'all's senior years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that will do it for us. Enjoy the championship games, and maybe you'll see us for some basketball or something. Who knows? You got ambition here, so I'm sure you'll see us again soon. Have a great day, and enjoy the game.